All right, friends, we are just going to get straight into the thing everyone hates the most about sophomore English, and that is speeches. So you are lucking out a little bit. You're home doing these speeches. You don't have to stand up in the front of the classroom while everyone awkwardly stares at you. So there is the silver lining of COVID-19, okay? I've watched hundreds of these speeches over the years, and there's always these problems, okay? So we're going to go over them. So hopefully you fix those before I start grading you, okay? The first thing is volume. So make sure you know the definition of all these things. Volume is the intensity of sound. We usually have two problems associated with volume. Either you're talking too softly, and I'm going to be in the back of the room, so I won't hear you if you're talking like that, okay? Or you're talking too loudly, and people are like, holy cow, you're a psycho, right? So make sure you're speaking at an appropriate volume. Remotely, this is a little different. Just make sure you are testing your microphone before you record your speech. You don't want to go give me an amazing speech and then test it and I can't hear you at all. Okay, so do test your microphone before you go into your actual speech. Okay. Second thing, eye contact. So eye contact is super important because it builds your credibility. Eye contact shouldn't be much of an issue this time because, again, you're talking to a computer screen. So it would just naturally be very awkward, right, for me to be talking to you guys like this while I'm recording a video. It's habit to look at the computer screen. Your notes are kind of already there, which is nice. Additionally, think of if like you came home late, you were somewhere you weren't supposed to do, and mom's like, "Hey, where you been?" And you're like, "Oh, I was just out studying." Is she going to believe you? Absolutely not. So eye contact not only builds your credibility, but it also indicates honesty. So typically, when you're in the classroom giving speeches, I'm really hoping our second speech will be in person. You want to try to look up at least 3 times per minute. And you do not want to just keep like looking up at whoever's in the front of the room right in front of you. You want to vary your eye contact and look across the room. Again, remotely, this is a little different. Do your best to try to look directly into that camera, okay? But it's going to be awkward because you're naturally going to want to look at your notes, which is fine. I'm not going to be a stickler. As long as your head's not down on me, you're probably okay with eye contact on these, okay? The next thing is rate. That's the speed in which you talk. So you can probably guess what the problem is when you get nervous. You tend to talk much faster, okay? So just be mindful of your rate. I would rather you talk too slowly than too fast and no one knows what you're saying. Changes in rate can convey different meanings and moods. So obviously, like if you're excited about something and you're about to get on a roller coaster, you're not going to be like, "Oh, I am very excited to get on this roller coaster." That doesn't really show your excitement. However, if you're speaking at someone's funeral, you're going to want to do the slow talk, right? That conveys the seriousness of your subject. So rate is important. Moving on. Last thing, I lied, it's not the last thing. Pitch is the highness or lowness of the sound. So if you get a second, look at this video. I posted this underneath your stream section. It's a teacher from an old movie. You probably have never seen it, but he's like, "Does anyone have any questions? Anyone? Anyone?" And you look over at the class and everyone's like sleeping. There's drool hanging out of their mouth. That is miserable to listen to, okay? So you want to have some excitement in your voice. And the way you do that is by changing the pitch of it, okay? So ups and downs. You want a little cadence to your voice. Again, inflect your voice. Do not be monotone because no one else has to listen to your speech this time, but I do. Don't put me asleep, okay? All right, the last thing is filler language. This is the biggest problem. The best way to avoid words like like, okay, and so is just to practice. I would really recommend asking someone in your family, just say like, "Hey, give me something to talk about," and have them give you just a random topic and see if you can talk nonstop for 30 seconds. I usually do this activity in class and it will be anything from like pizza toppings to the first day of school, and you just have to stand in front of the class and speak. And the challenge is not to say these words. It's very hard. It's better to just pause for a second or use a transition, like furthermore, right, than to have a big moment. Be mindful of what your filler language is so you can try to avoid those. I know mine is okay, and so and honestly, I always start my sentences with okay. Just really make sure when you start your speech that you start automatically with your hook and that you're not starting with a okay. Just be mindful of those things. All right, today's little practice assignment. I'm so bummed to be missing this. This is one of my favorite things to see in class. You're pretending like you are a news reporter, okay? I've given you a script on the next slide, so make sure you look at that. You are going to record a Flipgrid video of yourself saying this news report into the camera. I'm going to be looking for your rate, your pitch, and your volume, but you want to be pretending like you're like a real news reporter. So really pay attention. Like, when would the news reporter intentionally make his or her voice higher, right, to stress something important? When would they slow something down, right, to show the seriousness of something? Really be mindful of those things. I would make sure you look over the script before you try to record your video, just to make sure you can pronounce everything, and kind of just to plan when you want to change your volume and tone. Okay. That's all you're doing today. Tomorrow we are going to be continuing some communication notes, but if you have any issues, please reach out to me. We'll start talking about the requirements of your speech later in the week. Okay.